Hey guys, I'm going to help you with lesson 26's homework, and I've went ahead and crossed out a few things and made a few changes that I'd like you to make on your page to make this a little bit smoother. So let's start off with number 1A. It says plot the following points on the number line without measuring. So we're just going to plot the first 2 points because I've crossed out the third because it's a denominator we're not supposed to deal with. So first let's plot 2 and 1/6. I put 2 and 1/6 there because it's just a 1/6 bigger than 2, so it's not going to be far past. And then 3 and 3/4 should be all the way down there because it's a fourth away from being 4. So that's pretty easy on the comparison part. 3 and 3/4 is definitely going to be bigger than 2 and 1/6. Just make sure that you fix your problem so it looks the same as mine. Alright, on number 2, it says plot the following points on the number line without measuring. So we're going to start off with the first one. It says 65/8. So 65/8, let's turn that into a mixed number to make it easier to know where to put it. Well, first let's figure out what, let's count by our 8s, see how close we can get to 65 without going over. So I'm going to go all the way down, hammer out 40, 48, 54, oh, nope, not 54, that should be 56, sorry guys. So 56, once I can erase this, 56, and 64. Now 64 is 1 away from 65, so that's as close as I can get without going over. So let's count how many holes I would have taken out. So 8 times 8 is 64, so 64/8 plus that 1/8 gives you 65/8. And so 64/8 is the same thing as 8 holes, because 8 times 8 is 64, with that 1/8 left over. So we can plot 65/8 where 1 and 1/8 should be. So we're going to, 8 and 1/8 should be. So we're going to put it a little bit past 8 when we plot it. All right, let's change 29/4 as well. So I'm going to count by 4s to see how close I can get to 29 without going over. And it looks like 28 is the closest that I can get without going over. So I'm going to write, okay, so 28/4. I'm going to write 28/4 plus that 1/4, what gives you 29. And 28/4, if you count down, 4 times 7 is 28, so it'll be 7 holes and 1/4. So now we're ready to plot all these on the number line. So if we start with 7 and 1/4 goes right there. It's a little bit past 7, which I'm going to write 28/4 or 29/4 above it, so you know that's what it is. And then I'm going to put 8 and 1/8 just a little bit past 8 because it's only 1/8 bigger than 8. And I'm also going to label it a 65/8 so you don't forget what it also was. And then I'm going to put 8 and 5/6 real close to 9 because it's only 1/6 away from being 9. So now it asks us to compare using the greater than, less than, or equal to symbols. And so we know 8 and 5/6 is greater than 65/8 because 65/8 is the same as 8 and 1/8, and it's further down the number line. And then it says to compare 29/4 and 68/8, and 29/4 is the same thing as 7 and 1/4, and so that's going to be less than 8 and 1/8, which was the same as 65/8. And it says explain how you plotted the points in 2A. And all we did is we changed each fraction greater than 1 to a mixed number in order to know where to plot it. And so that's what I'm going to write on there. I'm going to say I change each fraction greater than 1 to a mixed number . And then plotted them on the number line. Alright, let's move on to the next section. I've crossed out a few for denominators that we're not supposed to be working with. So, and it says to compare them and then give a brief explanation. I'm going to give my brief explanation out loud just to save on time. If you want to draw a picture or write some words underneath so your teacher will know how you did it, that would be wonderful. Okay, on A, 5 and 1/3 is going to be less than 5 and 3/4. If they have the same whole number, you just compare the fractions, and a third is always going to be less than 3/4. So I'm going to say 5 and 3/4 is bigger. On B, it's a little bit harder because they're both fractions greater than 1, and there's nothing really in common for me to compare. So I'm going to change both of them into mixed numbers. 12/4 is exactly 3, because I could pull out 3 sets of 4/4. And now let's look at 25/8. If I count by 8s, 24 is the closest I get. So that's 3 wholes and the 1/8 left over. So 3 1/8 is going to be bigger than 3. All right, let's look at C. 18/6 and 17/4. I think, again, we're probably going to have to change both of these into mixed numbers in order to compare them. So here, 18/6, if I count by 6 over to the side, 6, 12, and then 18, that 6 times 3 gives you 18, so 18/6 is going to be exactly 3 wholes. But on 17/4, if I count by 4 over here, 4, 8, 12, 16, 16 is as close as I'll get. That's 4 wholes, because 4 times 4 is 16 with 1/4 left over. So that means that automatically, since it's 4 wholes and the other one is 3, 17/4 is going to be larger. Okay, on part G, these are difficult to compare as well, so we're going to have to change these into mixed numbers. So this one's easy because it's in tenths, and I know that 23/10 is going to be 2/10. I'm sorry, 2 wholes, because 20/10 is 2 wholes, and then 3/10 also. And now this one, an 8, so I'm going to count by 8s, and I have 28, so it's going to be 2 wholes, because 16/8 would be 2 wholes. And then 4 more 8s would give us, would push us up to the 28s that we had. So this one is 2 3/10, and then 2 4/8. Well, 4/8 is the same as half, and in the tenths category, if it had been 5/10, that would have been half. So here we know that 2 4/8 is bigger, because 2 4/8 is the same as 2 1/2, and 2 3/10 is less than 2 1/2. All right, if we look at H, we have 27/12. In twelfths, it's going to end up being 2 3/12. I know I'm going kind of fast on this, but this is a skill that we've already learned. So if you want to stop the video and figure these out, that would probably be a good idea if you're not comfortable with it. And then 15/6 is going to be the same as 2 and 3/6 is what it should be. Now we have 2 3/12 and 2 3/6. 3/6 is exactly half, so we have 2 1/2, and then 6/12 would be a half. So that's that would be less than 2 1/2. So 2 3/12 is going to be less than 2 3/6, which is equal to 2 1/2. Thanks, guys.